Greetings and welcome back to my channel with another weekly YouTube video. We're going to be doing something a little bit different, kind of similar, but going a little bit more of a deep dive into one of my matches. We're going to do a post-analysis post-analysis of a match that I did probably about a week and a half ago. It was up against a very, very solid team, and I wanted to go into like some of the plays that I made, recognize and point out some of the mistakes that I made, and how we ended up getting all the way to the very end. And how I was able to turn it around because I actually in this match get kind of frustrated more at myself than anything the survivors were doing. But I feel like it's important to recognize when you make your own mistakes and also when somebody outplays you because there is a difference and both can be as frustrating as the other. But it's always good to recognize whether you got outplayed or if you just made a mistake yourself. And I feel like that's something that doesn't really get talked about nearly as much when it comes to DVD and like improving at your play in Dead by Daylight. So, without further ado, we're going to be watching the match. I'll pause it occasionally to sort of give my thoughts on what I was thinking, what was going on, how I was feeling, and like just my general thought process on what I was doing, where I was doing it. And sometimes I'm not able to do that when I do my live game analysis. So I figured I would try and do something a little bit different this time. So without further ado, let us dive on into this match. It is on Blood Lodge, Autohaven Wreckers. So right off the bat, it's a pretty large map. And I actually get a pretty unlucky spawn because we're like right in the middle near the main building. And it just is not the best of spawns. So let's just watch and see how things play out initially. I try my best, Sandman. I do. I hate getting a middle spawn, especially on a big map like this. Now, like right here, like yes, I got a middle spawn and everything, and normally on a big map, the only advantage that you really have when it comes to like a large map like this is you do have a lot of very forgiving line of sight. So you can actually peer across the map and like maybe catch out scratch marks from where survivors are running at the start, or you see movement. It's easier to get into that first chase, or at least get into the general vicinity of survivors, even on a bad spawn, like getting out in the middle, because you don't really have any frame of reference or direction. And then me seeing this loud noise notification is a really good thing here at the start, especially since it was right next to me. And then here, well, that wasn't very bright of you. Just like here, I had just seen the Meg, like she was just slow walking towards me, so I don't think she really saw me coming because I was coming around from behind the truck. Um, and then kind of caught her off guard out in the open. Walking up to me. So, like right here, I get my shock and I predict. She cut back there because she was expecting me to go for the shock and then double back into the pallet because I was over here going for the shock. So she was doubling back. If I kept if I didn't brute force and ran at her at that point, um, she would have been in a better position because this is a 4 lane. Um, she had the window right next to the locker that was right here on the other side of the pallet. So if I rotated her the other way, she would have had a free, easy fast fault. So the reason I brute forced it was to make it so she didn't really have any choice, and if she ended up hesitating at the pallet, we got it down, which we did. Hi. Right here, they made a mistake. What are you guys trying to do? Trying to hover to go for a pallet save. I will say that right there
She get a fast fault there. That's
is an
pretty fucking crazy.
incredibly difficult fast fault to achieve, especially on like the auto haven tiles. Because you have to swing out with your character model out into the little wall that's in front of the window, and then do a long sweeping curve back into the window while still maintaining the momentum and changing your run angle to be more of a straight line at the window to get the fast fault. It takes a lot of practice, and that is not easy to do. Like, not easy at all. But kudos. It was a really good play on her part because it prevented me from getting her down right there.
Okay, I gotta leave that.
So like right here, I'm recognizing that
The
I
other
need to
person
get the
might have
pickup,
unbreakable, or the other person's gonna get a
but
slow pickup on him.
it's not very easy to do so because not only do we have Claudette, but we also have Dwight right
I
there.
literally can't just let him have this for free, though.
But since it's also my very first down, I wanted to really try to pressure it, and yeah.
Oh, unbreakable into it. But
Unfortunately, unfortunately, she had Unbreakable, and like I wasn't really thinking about that at the time. Otherwise, I could have gone for like a shock as I was running up to the body, and if she picked herself up in the middle of the shock, she wouldn't have gotten the pallet save. So that's a little something that you can do as Doc when you're going to like pick up somebody who will maybe under a pallet and has been for a while, because people will do their Unbreakable until the pallet's done. Um, if you go for a shock and then like immediately go for the pickup, if they Unbreakable, there's a very brief window where they could get shocked and it'll prevent them from getting the pallet on you. So just a small little mini thing that you can do. Um, Unfortunately for me, she also had Soul Guard,
oh, unbreakable
so
soul guard, even better.
she was able to pick herself up. She camped the pallet because it was probably her best play. She didn't take the window, which I feel like was kind of a mistake. She needed more distance. We went for the shock. She kept running. And here I just double back because I
Oh, you
felt like she was
authorized
gonna.
too. You just you.
I felt like she was going to just immediately revault it because I was really close to her, and I don't think she would have made it back to the pallet had she kept going instead of going for the pallet. If she kept going to the left to continue the loop and then re-back to the pallet, I would have been able to get a shock deny, and she would have gone down anyways. So her only real option was to go for the pallet.
Used your unbreakable immediately here.
So all in all, not too bad
You can.
for a first down.
You
It
can
took
get
a
a
little
fast
longer
fault
than I
with
would have
that
liked.
Claudette did. It's just difficult.
Here
Yeah,
I
it's a Legacy 3 mag.
like here I had recognized that one was working up on the gen up on the main building, one was right here. This person is in the weaker position just purely because all they have right here is the pallet in the bus. But I feel like if they ran for the bus, I would it would pretty much guarantee I would get a hit on them at this point.
It's a team that's gonna be probably pretty problematic for me.
As I said,
Yeah.
uh, like she didn't really have enough distance because of how close I was to be able to make it to the window without really getting hit. Um, she was smart. She didn't really hesitate too terribly much when she was at the pallet over there, so she was able to still run. If like she didn't hesitate at all and kept running the moment she ran under the pallet, um, she might have been able to make it to the window without getting hit. But hindsight 2020, I suppose.
Yes, they're trying to bully and just be annoying.
I got kind of stuck,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
right
and we
there.
zoned her.
What I was trying to do is she was gonna potentially go for the window. I was trying to get far enough forward to shock to deny the window because it'll go straight through the wall right there and clip her as she's going up to the window. Unfortunately, with how the Dwight was clipping on me on the left side and the tree was right there, I wasn't able to push myself forward during the charge time, so it didn't hit her. But she didn't take the window anyways, so.
He's trying to take hits.
Like she has pretty good prediction here on where I'm going for my shocks. I feel like she should have
Still
left the
didn't get
pallet
her out of
though.
the situation with that body block any.
I got
Got
stuck.
stuck.
Yeah. It really just sucks because like a lot of what I'll end up doing when I'm on like shorter loops like this is when they're under the pallet, I'll go for the shock and really sell that I'm rotating around one direction, and then as the shock is going out, I uh, quickly like turn my camera back and swing back over, but I was pressed too tight against the debris and got stuck. So little fuck up on my part, which lost me some distance, which is pretty crucial right here.
That was a good fake on her part in my mouse. Okay.
Like, she played this loop probably about as beautifully as you possibly
Yeah,
could.
you literally don't have anything unless you have Dead Hard. I am.
And right there was something that really bothers me quite heavily is the very finicky movement of survivors, or at least the perception of how they move on dedicated servers. It really is just kind of annoying, and it can be very incredibly frustrating to deal with at times. Um, Honestly, I probably went for a little bit overkill for trying to just go for shocks. My mistake was I actually was probably close enough, like say when she leaves right here and she's running
Yeah,
towards the
you
pallet,
literally.
I'm right here. I'm probably about what 4, 5 meters away. Like if I actually kept running instead of going for the shock right here,
Don't have anything
I
unless you have Dead
actually
Hard.
would have been able to reach her there.
I am so fucking pissed at that movement. Because she should not have gotten away with that.
Like, right here is probably like this chase that I had with Claudette, where I just made a couple minor mistakes. That's where I was starting to really get frustrated with myself because I was making some really bad mistakes. She was making good plays as well, but I feel like the minor little mistakes on my movement and me getting stuck in a couple spots, um, really hurt me, and I end up frustrating myself more often than not, unfortunately. It's just how I have been in this game pretty much always. Like, I try to hold myself to a high standard, and sometimes that bites me in the ass.
Yeah, you're not gonna get a blind. You guys are just trying to be annoying. I mean, it's a good team. It's obviously a good team.
Like, when I say it's obviously a good team, it's more of the fact that, like, at this point, I've gotten 2 hooks, so I'm down here with only 2 hooks, and they've already done 3 gens. But the thing in Dead by Daylight that a lot of people forget is the match isn't over until they are out of the match, and, like, the match is over and you're on the load screen. Um, like, it's not over till it's over, so just because some gens have popped, or like over half of the gens have popped, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to quote unquote lose. So just try to focus up and keep playing better. Um, and that's something that I always have to keep reminding myself is just focus on what I'm doing in that moment and not focus necessarily too heavily on the pacing of the game at the moment.
But, like, I'm gonna have to play a lot better if I want to get them.
See, like
I even waited.
Like right there, that was my bad. I was rushing myself. I kind of figured that the Dwight had Dead Hard, and when I went for the the initial shock. Okay, a little further back. So when I went for this initial shock, this is one
But, like,
thing.
I'm gonna have to play a lot.
This is one thing that is very crucial about playing Doc, and it'll trip up most players, but not necessarily like the really, really good players that are paying very close attention to your movement. But it's when you go for the shock.
A lot better
I'm
if I'm just
selling that
gonna.
I'm going to the left by turning my camera, and then I immediately start my movement and shift my camera back to the right and double back. So normally that'll help gain you a little bit of distance if they hesitate under the pallet because they'll lose momentum, and that's one of the key ways that you help catch it. It helps catch the survivors around these shorter loops.
I even waited too. That fucking pisses me off. I
I,
waited so long on that.
and
I am tilt.
this is literally just me getting like very tilted and frustrated at myself because I'm rushing, and that is something you definitely do not want to be doing um, in a DVD match as killer for sure.
Myself at this point. Like I'm literally tilting myself because I'm playing badly when I should be getting easy hits in pickups. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna move right here.
I figured they were hovering for flashlight saves because they had a couple flashlights, so that's why I was faking the pickup.
I'm gonna just take her hook because they're gonna get him up very quickly. I'm tilting myself because I'm playing badly.
And I was right. They immediately had grouped back up with both the other survivors to pick him up very quickly. So it was better to just take my hook that I had.
Yeah, and they just fully reset too, on top of it. I should have gone for the shock. I
I
still didn't
didn't
get the
need to go
kill.
for the shock, but if I went for the shock, I could have gotten
As I
probably
said, it's a good team. Like,
him to be
they're
zoned
getting
further
it.
away from the hook here. But I feel like this actually plays out better um, looking at it after the fact. The Meg's trying to just get my
Meg, what
attention.
are you trying to do with that line?
And I know he has, or at least he had Dead Hard. It might have still been down because he wasn't down on the ground long enough. So I realized that the Meg had a sprint burst, so I just immediately swapped off of her to go for the Claudette, who was still kind of hesitating. So she got out of position. We get the hit here.
You're not spinning that.
So I knew she was going for the Shack pallet. Based off of her movement and everything here, we actually go for what I have called and titled Draytech, which I've been using for well over 2.5 ish years now. Two and a half, something along those lines. It's been a long time since that I've been using this, and you'll get to see it. You go for the shock as they go to drop the pallet, and follow it up with if they run out, you're close enough that you can get a hit,
No, you're not getting that pickup. And
and
you're
they're
not getting
trapped
the
in shack.
flashlight save.
So at this point, I know that Meg is injured and she was running back towards shack. I just hooked Dwight. Claudette's down over by the L&T wall setup that's right next to shack. I don't know where my obsession is because I haven't seen them for a while. I assume they were probably on a gen, and I believe they end up being on a gen. Um, so at this moment, we're trying to just snowball this pressure that we have built up, and I'm starting to slowly turn things around here, and we'll just keep watching how this plays out. She tries to
Yeah,
go for the
sorry, you can't
pickup.
pick him up because you're tier 3'd.
So she went for the pickup there, but I think she forgot that she was tier 3, so she couldn't pick up the Claudette because tier 3 madness prevents healing. So unlucky on her part there. And with Shack pallet down, it makes Shack a much more deadly place against Doc.
Yeah, now you're dead. What now?
I'm starting to compound like the pressure, and I'm also starting to calm myself down at this point. from my mistakes that I was making earlier, and I'm starting to help trip them up because they're clustering up, and that's one of the fatal flaws that a lot of teams make in DBD is if you group up heavily like this, especially while people are injured, it becomes a very easy game for the killer to be able to snowball, and I just feel like it's not really the play, especially in the state of the game at the moment, where one's injured, two people are down, the last person hasn't been seen for a while. So if I get the last person down, it's gonna be almost GG at that point. So I go for the pickup, fake it, but he has dead hard, so I just immediately turn back to go for the pickup. So I'll take the hook, recognize that he's going in over for the pickup on Meg. So right there, I went for a blind shock because I knew the Dwight had gone in there. Um, I didn't know if he was still in there because we saw the loud noise notification, so I assumed he probably vaulted the pallet or the window, either one. So I fake it again. God pallet's still down, so we go for the shock,
Get
and
fucked, you guys.
we essentially got him down because leaving God pallet down as Doc, you can make this pallet turn into a wall at will because of your shock therapy. And that is one of the biggest parts of why Shack is such a deadly area for Doc. Because when the pallet is up, it's a little bit safer. When the pallet is down, it turns Shack into a dead end death trap against Doctor.
Seriously, get dicked.
That was me having a little bit of catharsis.
Oh, they were doing a gen.
And right there, I recognized that the last person was doing a gen. So I'm going to just try and take a hook because I have a hook
Oh, thank
immediately
God.
here.
No, he's dead.
He was not, in fact, dead. That was the second hook. He decided to go for this instead of the pickup. I faked out that I was going to keep committing to the Claudette, so it made Meg come out of nowhere. I go for the shock to try to deny the pickup, which I did. Again, to deny the window. Deny the pallet. Swing back in. And I'm pretty certain she didn't have dead hard. So we just get the down. We knew the Claudette was somewhere over here because I saw her in peripheral. And then I heard her. So she's going to try and get a pickup here. So I have to just go for the shocks to deny it, shut her down. She went for the window tech, which...
Yeah, I'm a knower.
So what I did there is I knew she was going to go out here and she was going to keep looping around Shack till I made a mistake, miss a swing, and then pick up whoever was in Shack. Um, so when I went for this door the first time, I really sold it with my red light and then double backed and faked it into the window vault. She went for the window tech, but because I always double check for the window tech by always because I knew she was on my left. Um, I assumed she was going to go for the window tech based off of like the skill of the players here. Um, so I immediately turned when I vaulted the window to check. She window tacked, and we are able to stay really close to her.
For there, Claudette. GG's, guys.
And that is pretty much how this match ended up playing out. So I lost like 3 gens for only 2 hooks, but then we ended up literally turning it back around to get all 4 of them down inside of another like 4 or so minutes because they clustered up. They were resetting really well earlier in the match, but they were not necessarily resetting when I was starting to compound pressure, especially when I was gaining high stacks to save the best for last. Anything over like 5, 6 plus stacks, and you're clustering up, it's going to really shorten the amount of time that I am in the cooldown animation for my attacks. So I was just able to finally calm myself down and start making the good plays, start making the good calls, the good fakes, and just be able to really snowball this match. Um, so essentially, this match just plays out the rest of the way, where I just go and hook everybody. Not really too much terribly interesting things
Staying
going
on
there.
top of it.
We'll just look at the
I had
perks.
to calm myself down.
So I was right. The first person that I was on was the one mag with the Unbreakable Soul Guard combo. Um, she didn't have anything for necessarily chase, so I think that she was relying on her team to really get the gens done because she was like probably one of their best loopers that they had. Um, and they also had a couple people trailing me with flashlights. I think they looted one, and this one I think this was the Claudette. No, this was the other Meg, I think, who brought one flashlight in. So they were a like, very well skilled team. I don't know if they were all together, or if they were just like four really good solo survivors. But I feel like at least there was a duo in there somewhere. Um, but yeah, all in all, I started off the match in a poor mindset because I worked myself up a little bit and made mistakes. They outplayed me quite a few times, so I was just getting really frustrated with myself because I could have ended quite a few chases so much sooner earlier in the match. Particularly with the, I want to say it was the Dwight. Like the Claudette, when I was chasing her here, like I should have had her downed out here, or before she even made it to the pallet. But that's just me and also
Why?
dedicated kind of cucking me here and there. Um, but then like the Dwight when I was on this pallet setup here, I whiffed two swings on him that I could have very easily downed him with in advance, but because I made some very poor judgment calls and I rushed my swings just by a fraction of a second, it extended the chase out by another like 20 to 30 seconds. And when every second counts in this game, especially on the killer side of things, it is very, very rough. Yeah, I think it ended up extending the chase almost a half a minute because I missed two swings. Thankfully, there wasn't another tile that he could just chain to. If there was, I mean, he could have maybe made it to the window. I don't think he had enough distance to do that. But all in all, it was a pretty good match. Like the survivors played really well. Um, I started off playing really horribly, and then I started really getting into it when they started playing around Shaq, and that's really where this match took off for me. Was uh, when we ended up going to my home turf of Shaq. So thank you very much, guys, for visiting me here on this in-depth game analysis. Um, if you guys want to have more of this type of content in the future, please let me know. I will be more than down and willing to discuss things. As always, guys, thank you very much for joining me today, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a good one. Take care, my friends.